Hi everybody, my name is Troy Wingard and I'm with Brambleton Library's Teen Services. I have another project which I think you're going to find that's pretty cool. Today I'm going to show you how you can paint your own custom t-shirts at home, created from a stencil made from freezer paper and just using a few other simple items. I feel sure you're going to like this one, so let's get started. Okay, so the most important material for this project is going to be freezer paper because it's going to act as a stencil to paint your t-shirt. Now, freezer paper is a special paper that's commonly used in household kitchens, like for wrapping meat and other oily foods. It's really easy to identify. One side is lightly coated with a shiny, smooth plastic, while the other side is just plain white paper. It's cheap and you can find this stuff at your local grocery store just about anywhere. Just be careful not to accidentally use wax paper or parchment paper because it's not the same thing. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is a piece of freezer paper a little over 12 inches by 12 inches, just like this. Now, here is what I want to print on my t-shirt. And in case you're wondering, Bram is the nickname for the Brambleton Library. An important thing to remember is that the parts you cut out and remove from your stencil are going to be the painted areas of your t-shirt design. So for this design, because it's lettering, there are going to be some inside shapes that I need to be aware of that I have to collect, such as the inside portions of the B, the R, and the A. I'm going to have to save these areas after I cut them out so I can include them with my stencil. Okay, for this next part, you're going to tape your freezer paper shiny side down on a good cutting surface. And then you're going to take a pencil or a pen and draw a cool design that you can cut out and make a stencil for your shirt. Now, for me, instead of drawing out my Bram design, I printed out my lettering from a computer. Now, all I have to do is to tape it down onto my cutting mat so it won't move, and then I'll take my freezer paper over the printout so I can cut out my design. Freezer paper is pretty thin, so I should be able to see all the areas that I need to cut out. Okay, so now it's time to make my cuts and to create my stencil. To do this, you can use scissors, but I'm going to be using an art knife. If you choose to use one, just remember to be careful because these things are extremely sharp. Okay, I'm finished with all my cuts and I have all my extra pieces for the insides of my letters. Now I'm ready to iron on all of these pieces onto my shirt to create my stencil. Okay, for this part of our project, I have a cotton t-shirt that I have ironed out smooth on an ironing board. So now I'm going to take my stencil and I'm going to lay it shiny side down on the shirt where I want my design to go. Now I have a clothes iron set to its highest temperature with the steam turned off. Once it's hot, which it is right now, I'm going to carefully iron over the entire stencil until it adheres to the shirt. Just go slow and be careful not to rip your stencil. Now that I've ironed my large stencil, I'm going to set my smaller stencil pieces into place and then carefully iron them onto the shirt. Just be sure that the shiny side of your tiny little pieces are facing down. Okay, well, my stencil has been ironed onto my shirt and it looks like it's sticking very well. Now that the shirt is cool, the next step is to take a piece of scrap cardboard, just about the same size as your design, and place it inside your shirt underneath your stencil, like so. The cardboard will help support the shirt and the stencil. It's also going to protect the back of the shirt in case the paint bleeds through the fabric when you're painting it. Okay, now to paint the stencil. I'm going to be using a small bottle of fabric paint that I picked up from a local craft store and applying it with a sponge brush. You'll want to dab the paint on in very thin coats, and you'll want to start around the edges of your stencil first, just like so. If you need to add another coat, let the paint set for about 30 minutes before dabbing more on. For some designs, it may take as many as 3 or 2 coats very lightly to completely cover everything. Just remember always to dab the paint on, don't brush it on or it may seep under your stencil. Okay, I've dabbed on about 2 to 3 light coats of fabric paint and let it dry for a few hours. Let's take off the freezer paper and see how this looks. Wow, this is awesome. The stencil worked out great and the edges of the design are nice and crisp. The only thing that we need to do now is to follow the instructions on the back of the fabric paint bottle. They're going to give you specific instructions on how to set the color into the t-shirt so that way it doesn't fade away in the washing machine whenever you go to wash your t-shirt. Other than that, we're pretty much done. If you get enough practice, you can try adding all sorts of different colors to your stencil to make really colorful t-shirt designs, just like this one over here. But experiment, have a good time with this. This is going to be your project. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you found this project to be really cool and fun. If you want to learn more about crafts like t-shirt stenciling, please be sure to drop by your local branch of the Loudoun County Public Library and ask a librarian to help you out with all of the media and the resources that we have available for you. And if you get a chance, bring by some of the t-shirts you've made. We would really love to see all of your creative designs. Okay guys, thanks for sticking around and we'll see you next time.